Hello, beautiful people, and welcome here. Have you ever wondered if we can actually change how empathic we are? And why is empathy important in the first place? What can we learn from the latest research on empathy? Stay tuned to find out. I just heard Zaki's audiobook on empathy, The War for Kindness, Building Empathy in a Fractured World. It is a really great book, very hopeful, very insightful. He's a professor of psychology at Stanford University and conducts research on empathy. And in his book, he summarizes all the findings on empathy from research that has been done all over the world. And in this video, I want to share my 4 main takeaways from his book with you. Takeaway number 1, empathy is the superpower of humans. And regarding this takeaway, I have a piece of good news and a piece of bad news. Let's start with the good news. The good news is that empathy is our superpower. Compared to other species, we are the species in which individuals help each other the most. Much of the success that we've been able to achieve as humans has been possible due to the fact that we support each other and stick together. And nowadays also, Google actually found in a study that their most successful teams were comprised of individuals that were highly empathic and supported each other. That means these successful teams were above average people-oriented. And what makes this kind of kindness possible is empathy. Empathy allows us to identify what others are feeling by understanding it cognitively and then also feeling it in our own hearts. So that does sound like a superpower, doesn't it? We are able to, in a way, beam ourselves into the minds and hearts of others and recognize what they are going through. Now, coming to the bad news, when studying empathy for the past decades, researchers have found that empathy has decreased over the past 40 years. And there are possible explanations for this, many different ones. One being that in a modern world, we actually interact less with each other. More and more people are moving to cities. And in cities, more than half of the people live alone, interacting less with other people. Another explanation could be that we are flooded by information of suffering on a daily basis through the media, and this leads to a kind of compassion collapse. It overwhelms and numbs us to see so much suffering, and then we're unable to extend our empathy. So, concluding this takeaway, while empathy is decreasing, it is our superpower, and what we need to do is to become better at it again and increase our empathy. This leads us to the next question. Can we actually influence how empathic we are? And that was my takeaway number 2 from this book. Empathy is more of a skill than a trait. It's not that we are born with a certain level of the ability to empathize and that's that. We can actually become more empathic and kinder. Research shows that human nature is much more mobile and changeable than we used to think. Even points of IQ have seemed to decrease or increase according to our behavior. So if I do a training, my IQ can actually increase, which is something that we weren't convinced of for very long. This, of course, doesn't mean that anyone can now become anything, but it shows us that we have much more potential than we used to think. And if you want to become more empathic, the first step is believing that you're able to change how empathic you are. A research from the Max Planck Institute has also shown this to be true specifically for empathy. After a training to grow empathy, people of this study were more able to recognize emotions. They had a greater desire to help. They were more generous, and even their brain structures underlying empathy grew. So empathy is our superpower, and it is possible to become better and better at it. We can do a training to increase our superpower. And that was my takeaway number 3 from this book, all the different ways in which we can grow our empathy. Number 1, perspective-taking exercises, putting yourself in another person's shoes, seeing what something is like for them, what they may be going through. Number 2, reading. Reading does exactly that. By reading, we follow the narrative of a protagonist, go through what the protagonist is going through, and take on their perspective. Number 3, getting to know outsiders. This is something that has been known for a couple of decades, that these boundaries of us versus them are one of the main things that decrease empathy. Hatred is portrayed as a profound lack of connection that we feel towards others that we label as outsiders or them. So by decreasing this us versus them feeling, by discovering all the things we have in common, by getting to know the outsiders and overcoming prejudice we might feel towards them, we can grow our empathy for them. And an interesting detail that I learned from this book regarding these kind of efforts, individual or on a group level, when there are certain events or get-togethers between groups to overcome prejudice, is that actually more than just getting to know each other, it's helpful if specifically the minority gets a chance to speak more than the majority, because the minority is already living according to the rules and way of life of the majority, so they are very aware of the majority, whereas the majority is usually not that aware or empathic towards the minority because they're just not that present and they don't have to accommodate to the perspective of the minority. So more than just getting to know each other, it's also about informing the majority about the minority's perspective. Number 4, being able to decrease empathy for people of one's own group. And this might sound contradictory when talking about how to grow your empathy, but if we are very biased towards the people of our own group or insiders of our own group, we might oversee how they are actually hurting others. So increasing empathy can sometimes mean that we are able to acknowledge the wrongdoings of people from our own group. Number 5, self-compassion. This is something that Jamil Zaki learned from formers, people who used to be part of hate groups. He shared that they said that what helped them get out of the hate group was not only meeting someone from the group they were prejudiced against, who was kind and who broke up those prejudices, but also being forgiven by that person. Feeling that this person has compassion and love for me despite of my past, despite of what I might have done. And this enabled them to actually connect to their own self-compassion and self-love and see the good in themselves, which they can build on from that point onwards. Number 6, using technology in a way that supports empathy. A correlation has been found between the time spent online and a self-rated ability to understand others. On the other hand, we have never been able to connect as much through the internet as now. People with rare diseases, for example, are able to find peers on the internet, share information and support each other, something that they could have never gotten from their neighbors who are physically present but don't have that disease. So it's important to find out how is the internet contributing to my empathy and where is it taking away from it. And number 7, meditation. Meditation is a strategy to actually become more in charge of your emotional life in general, which includes being able to tune your empathy up and down and finding forms of empathy that are healthy for you and at the right dosage that you want it to be. There are different kinds of empathy. For example, there is empathic concern, which means that you're not suffering the pain of the other person, but you want to help them. And then there is empathic distress, which means you are suffering the pain of the other person. And it has been shown that caregivers who have more of this empathic concern rather than empathic distress are protected from burnout. So try to find ways of being empathic that inspire kindness in you without leading to a lot of suffering on your part. In order to be empathic and kind, we need to be motivated for it. We need to see a reason to be empathic and kind. So this is takeaway number 4. Here are some reasons to be empathic. First of all, empathy makes the world a better place. There's this great quote by Mother Teresa. She said that if you want to make the world a better place, go home and love your family. And the more we can increase our sense of family, leaving boundaries of being related, of sharing the same culture, of belonging to the same nation behind, the more empathic we will be as humans. Another reason to be empathic is that it can actually make you better at your job. There are many jobs that benefit from more empathy. This has been shown for any kind of medical job and caregiving jobs. But in general, if you're dealing with people, it will help you to understand them. And last but not least, and there is loads of evidence on this, people who empathize more are less depressed, happier, and they have more friends. I'd like to close with the question that Jamil Zaki asks at the end of his book. What are you going to do? This is something that we can all reflect on. What am I going to do, continue to do, contribute to make the world a more empathic place? Now, I'm aware that there was a lot of information in this video, and one request that I've been getting from you all is that I include some kind of a summary in my videos where you can see all the different points that I mentioned on one screen. So the next screen you'll be seeing will be the summary of all these points, and if you're interested, you can take a screenshot or a picture with your phone to assist you in remembering all the different points. And remember to hit the subscribe button, because next time I will be talking about a very specific strategy of regulating emotions, which is kind of a hidden jewel, an insider's tip. So you don't want to miss that. Hit subscribe and the notification bell. And if this video was something that you enjoyed, please leave a thumbs up. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.